The Cosmology of War, Part 4, The Corridor, the Carrying, and the Great Work. In Part 1, I showed you the fire. In Part 2, I showed you the Watchers, the first army of light appointed at creation to guard the four gates of the sky until the final renovation. In Part 3, I showed you the Shadow Architects and the mirror that connects this war to every American convulsion for 250 years. Now I am going to show you what comes next. The corridor of thresholds still ahead. The science of what the water is carrying into the bodies of the next generation, and the turn that this entire transmission has been building toward from the first word. Because the cosmology of war is not only a map of what is being destroyed, it is a map of what is being asked of you. These thresholds are not coming, they are here. The corridor delivers a sequence of activations in precise order, each one building on what the previous one revealed, each one pressing the same degrees where every actor in this war carries their fire. April 19th and 20th. The sun crosses into Taurus, opening the gate of the bull, the archetypal station of Aldebaran, the eye of revelation, the watcher of the east whose calcinatio has been burning since the first strikes landed in February. Precession has carried Aldebaran's tropical longitude to near 10 degrees Gemini in 2026. The gates evolve their language across the millennia while holding their function, because Frasco Coretti unfolds not in a single moment, but through the slow turning of the great wheel itself. Aldebaran is still the watcher of the east. The calcinatio is still running. What the refiner's fire has been stripping since February will show what remains at this crossing. The calcium, the bone, the irreducible thing that stands when everything false has burned. July 6th through 10th, Geneva. The world's nations gather to attempt governance of artificial intelligence at the exact window when Mars approaches its conjunction with Uranus in Gemini, the most disruptive transit of the year in the sign that rules information, duality, and communication as both revelation and weapon. The negotiators at the Geneva AI Summit will be sitting inside this transit. They will be attempting to agree on rules for the most powerful technology humanity has ever created, while the planets governing information and disruption move into exact alignment overhead. Whatever framework is agreed at Geneva, or refused at Geneva, will be fixed into the morphic record of the AI age, under the same Uranus in Gemini signature that accompanied the birth of radar, the atomic bomb, the Cold War surveillance architecture, and every previous moment when humanity created a technology more powerful than its wisdom to govern it. The question Uranus in Gemini has always asked is whether the revolution serves the principle that launched it. Geneva will be the field's first answer. July 15th through 22nd. The sky reaches its most complex formation of the year. On July 15th, Uranus at 4 degrees Gemini forms an exact sextile to Neptune at 4 degrees Aries, the planet of revolution and the planet of dissolution in precise harmonic relationship, the information age and the dissolving age speaking directly to each other across the air-fire axis. On July 17th, Uranus trines Pluto at 4 degrees Aquarius, the revolutionary force of information in Gemini, aligning with the transformational force of collective intelligence in Aquarius. This is the outer planet triangle, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, that astrologers have called the magic triangle, the minor grand trine forming between the three generational planets now settled into fire and air for the first time in any living person's memory. It is not a transit that lasts weeks. It stays active through 2028. But July 17th is one of its exact perfections, the moment the three generational forces lock into precise harmonic geometry simultaneously. Whatever is being built or dismantled at civilizational scale in the summer of 2026 is being amplified by all three outer planets in agreement. July 20th, the kite. Jupiter enters the outer planet triangle as a fourth point, creating the most directed of all aspect patterns. Jupiter at 4 degrees Leo, early in the Lion sign, building toward the 26 to 28 degree band where every leader in this war carries their Mars, trines Neptune in Aries, sextiles Uranus in Gemini, and simultaneously opposes Pluto in Aquarius. The kite channels the combined force of the outer planet triangle through Leo, the sign whose warrior degrees have been burning since February. Jupiter does not change the nature of what it touches, it expands it. Moving through Leo across the second half of 2026, Jupiter will reach the Mars cluster degrees by November. On July 20th, it is 4 degrees into that journey, the kite forming at the Lion's entrance, pointing toward what will be sealed at the Lion's heart. July 26th and 27th. The nodal axis shifts. The North Node moves from Pisces into Aquarius, the sign of the collective, of distributed intelligence, of the water bearer carrying what the age is asking humanity to hold. The South Node moves from Virgo into Leo, directly onto the Mars cluster degrees at 26 to 28 Leo, where every actor in this transmission carries their fire. When the South Node conjoins natal Mars, the full weight of karmic consequence arrives at the warrior's threshold, not as punishment, as pressure. The accumulated result of every choice made at those degrees since February, pressing into the present moment with the combined momentum of everything that has been refused and everything that has been chosen. The nodal shift does not ask, it arrives. August 12th, the eclipse. The next member of the Saros family active when this war began arrives at 20 degrees Leo, moving toward the cluster, approaching from below the 26 to 28 degree band where every leader's fire was ignited in February. This eclipse does not detonate again, it evaluates. It is the field's mid-cycle assessment of what the cluster has done with the activation it received. What was built in the fire, what was destroyed, what was purified, what still needs to burn. The Saros family will carry its verdict forward into the next 18-year cycle, regardless of whether a ceasefire has been signed. The field's memory is longer than any peace agreement. October 3rd through November 14th. Venus stations retrograde at 8 degrees Scorpio and descends. Venus retrograde is not a disruption, it is a descent. The same descent Inanna made through the 7 gates, the same underworld journey that every feminine archetype in every ancient tradition performed to retrieve what had been lost and carry the verdict of the deep back into the living world. When Venus retrogrades in Scorpio specifically, the descent goes into the sign of Antares, the watcher of the west, the heart of the scorpion, the seat of putrefactio, the blackening, the decomposition that precedes renewal. Venus retrograde in Scorpio for 41 days means the feminine principle, the principle of relatedness, of value, of what we are willing to receive into our bodies and our lives, is descending into the decomposition chamber and asking what can survive it. What intimacy is real and what is performance? What covenant is alive and what is already dead but still being maintained out of fear? Shadow material surfaces during this transit, the hidden architecture of every relationship, financial entanglement, and emotional contract being brought into the light of Antares' illuminating gaze. Uriel's light does not comfort, it reveals. And with Venus retrograde in Scorpio, the feminine is the one holding the torch. November. Jupiter conjuncts the South Node and Mars in Leo in a triple conjunction that closes the year's corridor. The exact geometry. Around November 12th, Jupiter at 25 degrees Leo aligns with the South Node retrograde at 25 degrees Leo. By November 14th and 15th, Mars reaches the same degree. The exact Mars-Jupiter conjunction perfects on November 15th and 16th at 25 degrees and 53 minutes Leo, with the South Node within 1 degree orb, creating the triple conjunction in real time. Jupiter is the great expander. It does not change the nature of what it touches, it magnifies it. The South Node is karmic consequence arriving in full. Mars in Leo at those degrees is the warrior signature of every actor in this war. The triple conjunction at 25 to 26 Leo is the field's final coagulatio of the year, the expansion of consequence to its full scale, the sealing of the morphic record of everything chosen between February and November, the verdict carried forward into the next cycle as the new available pattern for every similar system that follows. This is the corridor, 7 thresholds, 8 months, the same degrees, and you are standing inside it right now, choosing in real time what the morphic record will carry forward. While the sky delivers its corridor of thresholds, the water is delivering its own, and the water does not wait for eclipses or conjunctions. The water is already carrying what has been chosen. Gerald Pollack's research at the University of Washington revealed a 4th phase of water that exists at every biological interface. Not solid, not liquid, not gas, but a structured, electrically charged phase that forms wherever water meets a living surface. He called it the exclusion zone, EZ water, because it excludes. It is the membrane that decides what enters the living system and what does not. This structured water lines your blood vessels. It fills the interior of your cells. It surrounds every organ in your body. It is not passive. It is actively maintaining the boundary between what nourishes and what poisons, at the molecular level, in every moment, without your conscious direction. This is the biology of the Watcher's judgment made cellular, not as mysticism, but as the same discernment operating at molecular scale. What Aldebaran asks at the gate of the East: can you see clearly and act from what you see rather than from what you are told? Your exclusion zones are answering that question in your blood right now. What Regulus asks at the gate of the North: can the toxin be separated from the medicine in the same vessel? Your cellular membranes are performing that separation continuously. The great work is not only happening in the sky and in the Gulf, it is happening in the water inside your body. When petroleum compounds enter the Gulf, the PAH plumes released by burning refineries, the molecular signatures of combustion dispersing through the water column, they do not stay in the open water. They move through the food chain one trophic level at a time, concentrating as they rise, from plankton to shrimp to fish to fisher to family. And when they reach a biological body, they do not simply pass through. They enter the exclusion zones. They cross the structured water barrier. And inside the exclusion zone, a petroleum compound is not merely a toxin. It is information, a molecular message written into the water that the body uses to regulate every biological process. The Columbia Center for Children's Environmental Health has tracked this across 3 separate cohort studies, in New York, in Krakow, in Chongqing, following children from before birth through their early years, measuring PAH exposure in the mother's blood during pregnancy, and then measuring the child's epigenome at birth and beyond. What they found is this: prenatal exposure to polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, the specific compounds released by petroleum combustion, produces measurable changes in the methylation patterns of the child's DNA. Not changes to the sequence of the DNA itself, but to the switches layered on top of it, the chemical marks that determine which genes are expressed and which are silenced. And these methylation changes are documented as heritable, associated with transmission through the reproductive cells into the next generation. A child born in the Gulf region in 2026 may carry the epigenetic signature of this war into their own biology, and potentially into the biology of their children. The placenta is Fomalhaut's mouth made biological. It is the body's most sophisticated exclusion zone, the membrane that stands between the mother's circulation and the developing child, filtering what is allowed to cross from one life into the forming of another. And what the placenta cannot exclude in the presence of sufficient petroleum contamination, it carries forward permanently. Every compound that crosses the placental barrier in the months following this war is fixed into the child's biological record, not as memory but as methylation, as gene expression, as the switching pattern that will shape that child's neurology, immune function, and capacity for coherence for the duration of their life. Gabriel announces. Gabriel fixes. Gabriel makes the record permanent. That is not only what is happening at Fomalhaut's astrological threshold, it is what is happening at the placental threshold of every pregnancy in the Gulf region right now. You are standing at the corridor's living entrance right now. The sun is approaching the Taurian gate. The first thresholds are pressing. The July wave has not yet crested, and Pollack's research gives you something specific to do before it does, because structured water responds to coherent inputs. Sunlight on glass vessels, clean mineral sources, intentioned hydration, reduced exposure to petroleum-derived compounds in food, packaging, and environment. These are not luxuries or spiritual practices disconnected from the material world. They are cellular guardianship, the daily work of maintaining exclusion zone integrity before the corridor reaches its most demanding transits. The pericardium's structured water registers collective pressure before any other organ. Strengthen the boundary now, while the field is still building toward its peak. Water sampling in Fujairah and Sohar, the Gulf ports where tanker traffic has concentrated as the strait closes, is beginning to document what is already in the water. bioremediation researchers are mapping which microbial communities retain the capacity to break down petroleum signatures in the water column. The same microbes that have been doing this work for millennia before the industrial age accelerated the contamination beyond their natural rate of remediation. The fishers who have worked these waters across generations do not need the laboratory results to know what has changed. They know it in the catch, in the color of the water at dawn, in the smell of the nets when they come up empty. Indigenous and traditional knowledge is always the first field confirmation. The science arrives afterward to name what the body already registered. Food sovereignty, the capacity of a community to nourish itself from its own waters and its own land, is the transmission's most concrete threshold. When the water carries the chemical signature of war, food sovereignty is not a political concept, it is a biological reality. What the fish carry, the families carry. What the families carry, the children carry. What the children carry, the future carries. The food chain is the morphic field-made material, passing the record of every choice forward through the bodies of the living into the bodies of the not yet born. And so the sky and the water arrive at the same question, the one the entire transmission has been building toward. You have heard 4 parts: the fire, the watchers, the shadow architects, the corridor. You have let what the water is carrying land in your body. Now the transmission asks the only question it was ever building toward: what do you do with it? Sheldrake's research showed that when a new pattern is established anywhere in a living system, it becomes easier for every similar system to access that pattern, not through contact, not through instruction, but through the living field carrying the habit forward. One rat learns the maze. All rats find it faster. One human being makes a clear choice at a difficult threshold. That choice registers. It becomes available. It does not require an audience. It does not require political power or platform or reach. It requires only that it be made, fully, in the body, and the field carries it forward. You are that carrier now. The pattern of truth, of guardianship, of choosing what heals over what poisons. That pattern is alive in you because you heard this. The waters remember. And you are inside the field right now. Your body knows this already. The structured water in your blood vessels and your cells and the sac surrounding your heart is filtering in this moment, actively maintaining the boundary between what nourishes and what poisons, at the molecular level, without your conscious direction. What you eat, what you drink, what you allow into your attention and your emotional body, all of it either strengthens or degrades that charge. The war in the Gulf and the daily choices of your life are running the same operation at different scales. What the leaders are refusing to separate at the level of nations, you are being asked to separate at the level of your body and your attention. Your heart is the first instrument of the field. When the corridor is dense with activation, when civilization is choosing at those degrees, when the water holds what it holds, when the eclipse is evaluating what the fire revealed, the structured water surrounding your heart is the first thing to either hold or collapse. The watchers held the 4 gates open through everything they witnessed. That is the instruction. Not looking away. Full presence inside all of it, with the boundary intact. Feel the war. Feel the corridor. Feel the placenta. Feel the children's bodies recording in real time what the leaders chose. Feel all of it, and hold. You are what remains when the great work has been fully undergone. The fire stripped everything false. The descent into the dark revealed what the light refused to show. And what Gabriel announces and makes permanent, what gets sealed into the record that every living system can access as a new available habit, that is what you do with this transmission from this moment forward. Every time you speak truth about what the water is carrying into the next generation, every time you choose guardianship where domination was easier, every time you hold the pattern of a world that chooses healing present in your body while the operations run at civilizational scale around you, it is being fixed. Into the sediment of the field. Into the record that carries forward through every body, every child, every system that follows. The final renovation, the one the watchers were appointed at creation to serve, is not arriving from above. It is being built from within, by every soul who makes the harder choice at the degree where the easier one was available. One boundary maintained under pressure, one act of guardianship, one refusal to carry the contamination forward into the next generation's water, their food, their biology, their inherited patterns. The Watchers have been holding for 5,000 years. They will hold until the last choice is made. And the soul who carries this transmission forward, who feels the war fully and holds steady, who separates what heals from what poisons, who chooses truth at every small threshold where it was available, that soul is not watching the great work from outside. That soul is the great work. You are that soul. This completes the first volume of the Cosmology of War, 4 transmissions across the full architecture of this conflict. The natal chart degrees of every leader, the eclipse families and their Persian lineage, the 4 royal stars and the operations of purification and transformation running through the Gulf, the shadow architects and the fire trine feeding the weapon, the Kennedy mirror and Cold War II, the corridor of thresholds pressing through 2026 toward the November ceiling, the science of what the water is carrying into the bodies of the unborn, and the turn that places you not as witness, but as living instrument. More transmissions will come. The field is still speaking. What comes next brings the water remediation science emerging from the Gulf, the distributed networks forming across the field, and the longer astronomical architecture of the years beyond 2026 as the outer planet triangle completes its work through 2028. The cosmology does not end with a ceasefire. It ends with the final renovation, and we are not there yet. Stay with the field, stay with the water, stay with the work.